people focus too much on SEO. Be lazy. If you call them fast, you don't have to call them again.
It's interesting you say that because Steve Jobs used to give the hardest task to the laziest guy.
My slogan is literally like, just call them. Don't send a text message. Don't send an email. The goal is to get them on the phone. There's 5 different question types I like to talk about.
So today I am joined with Jacob Bushmaker. We are going to be talking about sales again. And we'll go into the reason why I said again in just a second, but feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Jacob Bushmaker, been working in high-ticket virtual sales for nearly a decade, got a SEO and a lead generation background, and essentially now what I do, the agency, The Sales Formula, we help entrepreneurs, online business owners, get their set up and also optimize their sales systems for, I like to say, for quick and immediate wins. Basically, what can you do to get more leads? Get more sales from the same leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then let's jump straight into this. So obviously, I see we both see a lot of SEO agencies trying to sell SEO, and I always use the example of the clients and the calls and the sales is kind of like on the other side of the island, right? And the business is over here.
Yeah.
But what agency owners talk about is that, like, the materials used in the bridge, and it's like, oh, you're going to get 5 DR45 backlinks, right. You're going to get 20 blog articles. Is that what you recommend, or would you go down with like understanding pain points of your clients?
Yeah, it's like the opposite of what I'd recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine to mention those things, but you have to realize that people don't really care about SEO. Normal people. Most people don't know what it is. Yeah. Right. Like my mom, she does not know what it is, which is fine. Right. She's not in the market. Like, it's not a big deal. And so what I see a lot is SEO. They tend to be kind of nerdy, analytical guys. It's fine, but like most people aren't like that. So you got to kind of take a step back and realize, like, don't focus so much on SEO or whatever it is. If you're doing pay-per-click, they don't need to get into the weeds. SEO, it's you call it a bridge. Yeah, I always say it's a medium. It's a way to reach their goals, and you have to focus on that and keep that in mind in all your conversations, right?
So how are you figuring out your potential customers' goals?
Yeah, there's no real rocket science behind it. You just ask.
Just ask questions.
Yeah, you just ask a lot of questions. And so I'm a big proponent of scripting, having things scripted out, preparing things beforehand. And so I always say minimum, you want to have about 15, I say at least 15 questions. And there's a lot of studies that back this up. There's this company called, I think it was the Sales Insight Lab. They did a study, and they studied 23,000 sales conversations, and they found that top performers they found over 32 questions. Average performers were only asking 23 questions. There was another one by, I believe it was Task Force, and they say that if you ask 11 questions or more, you increase the conversion rate by 78%. And even Harvard did a study on this. Harvard Business School did a study in 2017, and not particularly, it wasn't sales related, but it was about how questions affect the outcome of a conversation. And what they found is if you ask 9 or more questions, people judge you. So you would judge me if I was asking you questions as more likable and having a higher connection towards that person.
Right.
So. Okay. That was a long-winded way of saying ask a lot of questions.
What are some questions that you're asking? Because what I don't want people doing is just going and asking 60 questions.
That's right. Yeah. So there's 5 different question types I like to talk about. One is just what's referred to as a situational question. Situation is, what is their current situation? That's pretty obvious. Can you tell me a bit more about your business? How many clients do you have? Where are your clients located? Are you using a SEO agency right now, right? Just a snapshot of where they currently are. People do these naturally, right? That's just like what you're going to say when you're on a call. And then next is I like to ask what's referred to as vision questions. Right. Essentially, where are they trying to get to, right? They're here and they want to get there. Yeah, that's good. There's a gap, right? Sometimes it's called gap selling, right? And so asking a vision question is, okay, so where do you want to get to in the next 12 months? What are the goals for your business right now? Or if let's say they're using another agency, it might be, Excuse me, I wouldn't say that. That's for a problem question. But my point is just trying to get an idea of where they're trying to get to. Like,
Yeah.
or why is that important to you? So why are you trying to get there? Why, right? Because, I'll tell you something. It's never about money, ever, right? Like, they're trying to get somewhere because they want more money, so it's more security for their family, or so that they can
go on holiday.
They can go on holiday, or they can get the validation of the business they want, so they can sell it, so they can have the freedom that they wanted, or they have more security for their family, or so they can serve more people. And asking these questions is huge because all of a sudden your SEO services are about security for their family.
Yeah. And one thing that I'll add to that is, like I found that a lot of local businesses, the business owner, like they see their competitors like rank in position 1, or Map Pack might be rank in position 1. So it's actually kind of like I want to rank above my competitor. It's kind of like a mindset thing.
Oh, kind of like an ego thing.
Like an ego thing.
Yeah, okay.
I've noticed that with a lot of local businesses.
Okay. Oh, Bob's outranking me. Oh, that operation, oh, we're way better than them. Why does Google think they're better?
Exactly that.
It doesn't work that way.
So yeah, that's another thing. What were the other types of questions?
Yeah, so then a couple what's referred to as a problem question, right? So they're here, they want to get there. Why aren't they there? There's probably a problem. There's probably something holding them back. Hopefully, they're going to say, if you're selling marketing, well, I need more clicks, right? So why haven't you been able to double your business? Well, we're not getting enough calls. Yeah. That's a problem. Well, it's because of this. Well, because our current agency, let's say they have an agency, they're really not producing results. The traffic hasn't gone up. This goes into selling against competition, but if let's say like, oh yeah, we're using a guy, but the results haven't been that good. But they're talking to you, and you're an SEO agency. That's a problem, right? There's probably something going on. I might ask, oh wow, okay, so like if you were to rank your current guy out of a scale out of 10, what would you give him? And they might be like, oh, like a 6 or a 7, and I'd be like, dude, a 6? Like a 7? Wow, like what's going on? Like you try to you're building up the problem to make it a little bit bigger in their mind and make it more painful. Yeah. Right. And so it all goes back to emotions. And when you start to, and also when they say it makes it more real. When you say it out loud, it makes it more real, and they're thinking it through together with you on the call. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is really your job as a salesperson it's not to convince them to do anything. It's to help them get what they want. You are helping the business owner, right? Hit their goals of making more money for their family. Right?
That makes sense. So then what about structuring your actual offer as a SEO agency? Are you giving guarantees? Are you doing audits? Like what's something that's going to help people basically grow the agency?
Well, in terms of the offer, there's a couple things you want to do in the offer. Obviously, if you ever read $100 Million Offers by Hormozi, that book's great. Read that; it'll get you in the right direction. But you do want to make something that's very good. It's very compelling. And so the way I like to take a look at that is, you gotta give them a good guarantee. They gotta have some skin in the game. You gotta have some skin in the game. So a classic one for SEO might be, hey, we guarantee to increase your leads by 20 to 40% in the next 3 to 6 months, or we work with you for free until we do, or we give you your money back. That's even more of a scary one. But I actually we work with you for free until you do. That's a pretty good one. So they know that they're at least going to get X number of results from their ad spend. And it goes back to ROI, because most people, particularly small mom and pop shops, they really just care about the ROI. How much money am I giving you, and how much do I get back, or should I get back in revenue?
It's so on Facebook ads, it's called return on ad spend. So if I'm giving you £1,000, and you're giving me 3,000, I'm like, well, okay, let's scale this to
just do it more.
Let's start spending 10,000.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the return on ad spend on that? Is it 27,000? All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
What about so let's say, for example, you are getting a consistent flow of inquiries now. You have thought of your offer. What about when it comes to trusting you as a brand? Would you say that helping, or would you say that growing a personal brand helps?
Of course.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Personal brands are king now. It's one of the things that myself personally I've been working on. That's why I'm trying to do more podcasts like this. Get my face out there a bit more. But especially now in the age of AI and things are becoming less personable in many ways, and people are going to be trusting content and trusting, particularly right now, written content.
Yeah.
No one really trusts it anymore. At least I don't. And so having a face, that a face in a real person is huge. It's huge. Also, here's a little tip: always do your sales calls on videos.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Always. I'm saying, this is something we started doing post COVID. We're probably in the middle of COVID. 2020. Before 2019, it was kind of weird to suggest to some people. It wasn't that common to hop on video calls, right? Most kind of gray-haired baby boomers, they didn't really know much about Zoom. They didn't really do video calls. That's completely gone now.
Yeah.
Everyone gets on Zoom, right? And it's use it to your advantage. So I would always try and do a sales call with video.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, very important.
So then, here's a few other questions then. Let's say, for example, you have looked at an SEO agency's sales system, right?
Yeah.
What are some things that you would look at to improve the close rate? Are you looking at how long it takes for them to potentially phone the lead back?
Yeah, that's the number one thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the 80-20 on converting leads is calling it back quickly.
Right.
I feel like I'm repeating myself because we just said that we just did this, but it's we're a culture that stands in front of a microwave and says hurry, right? We can't wait for anything at all. And what the data says is if you call someone back in under 5 minutes, you get a 8 to 10 times pickup rate.
Yeah.
In under 5 minutes, and it just drops off a cliff because they've already called someone else, or they've forgotten. Now they're on YouTube or whatever, right? Or maybe they were just at a stoplight or whatever, on a subway, and your window's gone.
Life's just got in the way.
Yeah, it's just you're just spam now, right? Yeah. And so, not to say don't call them after 5 minutes. Of course you call them. Of course you follow up with them, but it's an uphill battle. And so work smart. I always tell my guys this, be lazy in a good way. Be lazy. If you call them fast, you don't have to call them again most of the time. Right.
It's interesting you say that because Steve Jobs used to give the hardest task to the laziest guy. Now, there's probably a way better worded way of me explaining this, but he basically said, if I give the most SOP task to somebody, the laziest guy in the office, he's going to find the quickest way to do that, to then go back to being lazy. So it's interesting that you say that. If you've got 10 sales guys, right, and you're listen, you're going to get 100 calls today, just phone them, and then as soon as you're finished, you can just go back to watching Simpsons or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. It's about results.
Yeah,
particularly in sales. Just have a number. Yeah, that's what quotas are for. Dude, if your quota's 10 appointments and you could do it in 10 calls and be done in 4 hours and go to the beach, good for you. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. You need, as long as you get the number. Our numbers on the back end's good. Our business is good. We make money. Okay, whatever, man. You're a sales god. Just go do your thing.
Even if it takes you 20 minutes, 40 minutes to do all of it.
I don't care. I wouldn't care. If I was the manager, I'd be yeah, man, you're crushing. You've done what you're done. You done what we expected of you. We have nothing else to talk about. If you want, I would of course put the bonuses to keep going. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So then, by the way, this is the second time we've recorded this podcast.
Yeah.
But the first podcast, you explained something that was really good, and I think that a lot of people could actually use this, right? But it was the actual formula when it comes to
the cadence. Right?
Yeah, the cadence.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool.
So let's explain that, right? So you've just had an inquiry. You've phoned them and they've not picked up. What are you doing next?
Yeah. So this is what you want to do. So when the lead comes in, like I said, number one, call them back as quickly, but call. I'm a big component of calling, and my slogan is literally like, just fucking call them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't send a text message, don't send an email. The goal is to get them on the phone, right? Get them on the phone and get them on a video call. That's the goal. So how do we optimize for that? You call them. So you call them immediately, right? When the lead comes in, if you get a pickup, great, you do your thing. If you don't, what you want to do is send a text message. Okay, why? Because people screen their calls. Everyone screens their calls, right? And so what you do is you send a text message introducing yourself. Just your name, your company, following up on your interest or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter, right? You just have to introduce yourself, so you're no longer spam.
Yeah.
You're now a person. You're now something that they actually are interested in. And then you call them immediately back. You call them back like 30 seconds later. Because the idea is what happens is, someone gets a call, they're like, oh, unknown number, next. You send them a text message, they get another notification, they read the text message, and in a perfect world, as they're reading the text message, their phone's in because now they have their phone, they're probably checking their notifications. You give them another call.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's yeah. When you mention that, I'm like, that is really smart, because I actually do that. I'm like, oh, it's 078544221. I'm like, I don't know that guy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
But if it's like, if you introduce yourself, I'm like, oh yeah, let's take a look at this text message.
Definitely.
And then you're phoning me, I'm like, well, I need to answer this now, don't I?
Yeah, that's right. And so I hit him first. I hit him first with that at the very beginning, and then I usually would, if no response, then I would in the evening, like 4 hours later, I would give him another call. No voicemails, just calls. Give him another call, and then send an email.
Yeah, I think also another thing to add what you've just said. Try phoning them at 2 different separate times.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you're phoning them at 9, they might be dropping their kids off, or they might be at work or whatever. If you phone them at, let's say, 6 p.m., they're probably at home, they might be in front of the TV, they're doing nothing. They're more likely to take your call then as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's why, I don't know how it is in the UK, but at least in the US, the telemarketers they pick up so much in the evenings. So this is well known. It's referred to as the golden hour in sales, and it's basically between 4 to 6, 4:30 to 6:30. I guess it's the golden hours, right? But whatever. But like the golden window to call, right? It's that time, and you do get a lot higher pickup.
Yeah.
So typically 2 times, right? And but always immediately. That's number one, and then it's like, then you'll optimize for the later times. It's nice too if you're in the U.S. as well. This is like if you're doing like pure full sales, and you can actually play the time zones. So we used to we would you'd like ride the golden hours back. So you start in the East Coast, and then it'd be another then it's an hour back. You start calling Mountain Time, then you start calling West Coast time. So you get like 4 hours of golden hours in the afternoon.
Right. Okay.
So we used to do that all the time. It's pretty epic.
What about some case studies then? So let's talk about you've started getting your leads.
Yeah.
You have started doing your cadence. Now you are starting to get people onto video calls with you.
Yeah.
But you might have like some potential no's, right? Like, oh, I'm not ready for this, or
of course.
Do you think case studies can help with that?
Yeah. So basically, when someone is, we'll just say for whatever you're selling, let's just say marketing right now, it really comes down to 2 things, right? It's the ROI. And can you do what you say you're going to do? Trust. And that's 2 things. That's the ability. Are you able? Do you have the skills? Like, do you have the SEO skills to get my site to rank? And will you do it? Will you not take my money and run?
Yeah.
Right. And those are the 2 things you have to overcome. And so that's why case studies overcome the ability part. Right. This is a guy, he was just like you. He was here 2 years ago. He's now here.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you don't say this necessarily, but they think naturally, this could be me, which is what you want. You're not saying it's going to be you, because you can never promise that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they are going to think, it could be them. And that's why, even when sometimes you always see the little asterisk results, not typical. It doesn't matter, because this stuff is so powerful. People still, you can't help but like make that emotional connection.
So psychologically, let's say for example, we are a SEO for law firms, right?
Yeah.
and we've just helped somebody grow from, let's say, I don't know, 10 inquiries to 55 inquiries. They went and got a brand spanking new office, stuff like that, right? If you can document that in an actual SEO case study, the next thing let's say,
powerful.
You're speaking to Anthony. Anthony's a little bit unsure, and you could just be like, hey, Anthony, I'm going to send you over this case study. One thing that you actually said again in the lost podcast.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was.
It was good. I'm a little heated about it. It's all right.
But one thing that you mentioned is that you try to book them on another call. Like, do you want to explain that? Because it was
like the follow up.
Yeah, the follow up call. So like you're in the process of sending an actual case study through to them.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you were saying like, what happens if they need more time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. Like people, especially if it's high ticket sales, most people don't close in the first call. I mean, it's like, actually, this is going back to brand awareness. Like, if they know you, they've watched a lot of your stuff, maybe they will close on the first call. But in general, if they don't really know you, they need more touch points. They need more of you, basically, in your product. And so a really good way to go about that is like, hey, man, I totally get it. It's a big decision. How about this? You actually reminded me of this guy we worked with. So we worked with this law firm in Dallas a few years ago, and when he just left this big firm and went off on his own, and we actually took him from X to X, X to Y, right? And let me just send that over to you. We got a whole bunch more. We got another 10 other ones on the website that are similar, but I thought that one would be the most relevant for you. So let me just send that over to you. Take a look before our next call, and then why don't we just talk in 2 days? Would that work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the two things that are really important in what you've just said. Number one, thinking of case studies that your potential customers can actually relate to and resonate with.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, if you've just went and done SEO for Coca-Cola, right, and if you're spending £1 million a month,
it's not going to resonate with the local law firm.
Exactly.
They're like, they're Coke.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's better than nothing, but it's like it's not really helping you that much.
It gives you clout.
Yeah,
to
you're
say,
right.
Like,
I mean, if you work with Coke,
it gives you
if
that
you worked with
trustworthy.
Coke, they'd be like, okay, these guys are legit.
But then they just can't resonate, right? But then, if you are actually showing them something and they're like, oh, John had 0 leads, I've got 0 leads.
Yeah.
Now he's getting 20 consistent leads every single month. I could have that. Yeah. You're not saying necessarily that's you, because they still need to do the work. They still need to close the calls.
You're not saying that's going to be you, but you're saying you're suggesting that it could be them.
Exactly.
And you're letting them, start to Imagine. Yeah. That's right. The vision. Going back to the vision. Where are they trying to get to? Hey, this guy was here and he got there. I want to get there. Yeah. This guy, you helped me get there. I want more money for my family. All of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? It starts to connect and the emotions start to come out. Yeah. And that's the powerful stuff that makes people want to move forward, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So then, what are some common problems that SEO agencies have when it comes to finding clients? Would you say, like, obviously we've spoke about the them going too detailed into like selling the links, selling the content, right? Business owners don't care about that generally. They care about the results. Yeah, but really. What are some other issues that you've found?
That's the main one, I would say, is people focus too much on SEO.
Right.
Like SEO, let's just say SEO guys. Right? You focus too much on the product.
Yeah.
Me telling you what I'm going to do. But there's this old sales adage that telling isn't selling. Yeah. And it's very true. Going back to questions are selling. Because all of a sudden you start to talk to me about, when I ask questions, you can start to talk to me about your problems, your vision, what's holding you back, what are the implications of you not getting there. We didn't even talk about that because we don't have a lot of time. But like basically, there's it's very powerful to ask more questions, and so it's essentially it. Don't focus as much on the SEO. Keep in mind that they don't really care that much, and I'd say always book a follow up.
Right. Okay.
That's a little nugget as well.
What about when it comes to recording your calls? Like, let's say, for example, if I am doing the calls myself right now, and potentially I'm looking to hire somebody to actually do the calls, do you think that recording the calls and using that as training, would that help?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal way to train.
Right. Okay.
Both as yourself, right? So let's just talk about me. If you want to improve your sales skills, you're a sales professional, whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? Like when you listen to your calls, it is amazing the stuff that you hear. That you like. It sounds like it's a different conversation sometimes,
Right.
and there's all these subtle cues and the body language. You can really start to nerd out on body language, and like I said that, and he kind of he furrowed his brow. It's like, oh, he didn't like that.
Right.
You can start to pick up on these things, but it's really hard in real time unless you kind of train it. So yeah, recording calls is huge for your own personal improvement, but also it's really good when you're trying to train someone up.
Yeah.
As well, and I think that's what you were asking about more, right?
Yeah.
So it's just the way to train a sales agent is just like here's 10 calls. Here's 10 calls. Take a look at these. Take a look at these first, right? And then I might be like, okay, so now what I want you to do is hop on Zoom calls with me, live calls, and I just want you to kind of be there as an observer. Get used to the flow of a real call. And then I might do like, okay, and then now let's shift to where you're leading the call, but me, the manager, the owner, I'm going to be there in the background, and I'm kind of there as the reinforcements, right? Like call me in if needed. If you get stuck, just divert to me. Like, hey, that's a good question, but I think that's a better question for my manager. And then just hey, Steve, did you hear that? And then Steve just hops in and saves you.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
And then with time, you basically can just let that person do their own calls.
Do you think that when you're hiring a sales rep to, let's say for example, I'm hiring a sales rep to replace me.
Yeah.
Do you think that the close rate is going to dip slightly because obviously they're new? Yeah. They don't know the pain points. They might not fully they might have previously been selling double glazing windows, right? Yeah. They've got some sales experience. They don't have SEO sales experience.
Man, it might dip. It might dip a lot. Right. It might not dip a little. It might tank.
Yeah.
Right. It might.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story, a nice vulnerable story. So I like most of us work in sales. I started off doing cold calling. Right?
Oh, God.
You don't like cold calling?
No, I feel sorry for you though.
yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Like I can't I made over 72,000 cold calls. Dials. That's not pickups. That's actually dials.
Right,
but before I stopped counting, yeah. So it's like over 100,000. Yeah, don't do that. It's lame. Anyways, but it's like there's no better way to get really good really fast. Because anyways. Why am I on this topic? What were we saying?
We were talking about the dip in sales.
Yeah, okay. So this one time, it was like my first week. This lady called back and she's like, hey, I'm calling for Jacob. And I'm like so stoked. I'm like, yeah, I got a call back. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, so I just want to let you know, like I listened to your recording. I left a voicemail and we thought you were a robot.
Oh, really?
Because I guess I was so just like, I must have just been like hunched over, like, hey, this is Jay. Like I was very like robotic, I guess. And she's like, yeah, I showed it to my friend and she wasn't sure either. So I just was seeing if you were real.
That's the only reason why she phoned.
I think so. Like, I don't think she signed up. I don't remember actually. I just remember this burning into my mind of like, oh no, what have I been doing? What have I done?
Do you know what? I think that one thing that is pretty important about this topic is don't just stick to like a script.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the very, very first interviews. So I think I'd just finished college and then I went into like a sales job interview.
Okay.
And the guy was like, I want you to read exactly word for word everything off of this script. Obviously, I wasn't as confident as I am now. I was literally just 17, 18 years old. And I was stuttering and it just sounded so bad.
You did this?
Yeah.
You did this?
Okay. This was like part of the interview process. So it was like a dummy call.
Oh, they wanted to like test you. Yeah. Okay.
So that was like the test call that I had. I think it might have even been on like a live lead. But
that's brutal.
Yeah, I just remember doing that. I was like, this is terrible. I can't do this. Like, I was just thinking like on the way back, because it was like a 40-minute train journey. I was like, if they'd just like let me freestyle it. It would have been like loads better. Obviously, like I think I had to maybe ask like 3 questions and then like close.
Okay.
But I'm like, damn, that's tough.
So I am a big supporter of scripting things and having things pretty heavily scripted. But you know, it depends on the person and your level of competence. But it's a fine art. It's a fine line. You know, you need to be able to read the script and change it and put your energy in it and put your flow to it. But I also do say reading a script, particularly on like when you're cold calling or the way you start the conversation, you need to be really particular about that. It's like the lever points of a conversation is how you start it and how you end it.
Right.
And I don't care as much how you do the middle part, but you want to be dialed in when the way you call.
Right.
Because that's when, especially if it's like a cold call, that's when they're you know they're judging you, right? But anyways, yeah, it's brutal. Script reading, it can be pretty brutal, man.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, I was called a robot once. Yeah, so that still hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I got better. I got
So
much better.
what is your background before we actually end this up? Then?
Sure. Yeah. So,
how did you get into the world of SEO?
Man, you know, it's the classic. I kind of just fell into it.
Right. Okay.
To be honest, I'm not doing too much SEO anymore. I focus much. I work with a lot of agency owners. Like I have an SEO background. You know, I did my affiliate sites for a number of years, but just kind of had moderate success with them. To be honest, they never really took off. But then I just kept falling back into sales. Again.
That's your forte.
It seems to be.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
without really even wanting to be good at it. I kind of just was good at it.
I mean,
and that's something to be said, right? Yeah.
If you've done 72,000 or 100,000 dials, right? Like that's at least like
that's your 10,000 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say that must be like 10,000 hours.
Yeah, easily because that was just the dialing, and then I used to actually do the closing as well.
Right.
For the calls, and so I was an animal back in the day. I'm kind of that's why I actually am kind of doing the agency now. I'm trying to get off the phones because I got a little burned out. But my record was 14 new accounts in 1 month from cold calling, which was like $250,000 in revenue.
Yeah, that's good.
But that was like 12+ hour days. Like I was just fiending. I think they set a record for me. They're like, what was it? That you get a permanent $1,000 a month bump if you get 10 in a month.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, let's fucking do it. Yeah, like, let's do it. I'm like, all right, game on. And it took like 2 or 3 months, and I did it, and then I never did it again.
Yeah.
Because it was just miserable. Man, miserable. Like it was, man. Because I would hit the morning hours. You know, like basically the people on the way to work. You'd hit the morning hours, right? And that's like 8 to 9. You get a little window. People on the way to work. You know, they're particularly pissed off. You know, when they're driving into work.
Stuck in traffic.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's not an ideal scenario.
Oh, man. Yeah, but I think you get the ones that like take pity on you. I think, you know, or it's like this guy's hustling.
Yeah.
Like every now and then you're like, all right, man, what do you got? You know, so it did work.
Do you know what? I am a sucker for good sales. Like, I went into the Apple store. Apple just treat you like ass anyway, right? Like they don't care. But like there's particular times where I've been like, do you know what? I don't need this product. I seriously don't. But because of how much motivation you have to sell this product to me, I'm going to buy it. And I'm also going to buy all your upsells, all your cross-sells, everything. I respect a good sales call or a good sales guy or woman.
Dude, it's also like, man, especially working in sales, like, I just love being pitched.
Yeah,
I just love it.
Yeah,
I'm like, and then you just kind of fuck with them. You're like, oh, you know, I think I need to think about it.
You know what? One of my this is gonna sound really sad, right?
Yeah,
but one of my favorite things to do if I'm at a shopping mall or something is like just go to like the high luxury like shops. I won't even I'm not even that interested.
Or whatever. Yeah.
But I just want to see like how they're selling, and like
it's really good. It's actually really good to get info. Yeah.
They're like, oh, I want that LV wallet, right? And they're like, oh, I need to go and check the stock. I don't think we've got any.
Scarcity.
And it's like, they come back and it's like, well, we've got one display unit And then you're just like, well, if it's a display unit, surely you give me a discount. And they're like, no, because
we're Gucci.
Yeah, because we're Gucci. It's going to take 6 months. And then you end up buying the wallet, right? And you walk past 2 days later, and you're like, I thought they would run out.
Yeah, it's scarcity. That's just one of those things that injecting scarcity or urgency. It's so good.
That's another thing to have in your offer. Like I see a lot of agencies where they're like, we're only working with 3 new clients every single month.
Dude, 100%. Say it, man. Especially ethics. Like, don't lie. But like, if you're a boutique firm, you have limited capacity.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you mention that? Like, hey man, we don't take everyone on.
We can't onboard. I'd love to onboard 30 new clients, but we can't onboard 30 new clients every single month. We need to limit that to 5. We need to do this, and then it also kind of makes you look more luxurious, more like 100%. An LV, more like a Gucci.
It's status, right?
Exactly.
You don't want it's what's referred to as a status alignment, right? Is you want to be I'm a business owner, you're a business owner. I got stuff to do, you got stuff to do. That's the you don't want to be chased, right?
Exactly.
It's like I always say it's like I always
premium club.
Yeah, premium club. Or I make a connection with like a courtship. Like if you're going after the girl, you don't just go. Right, what do? You ask, you ask for a little bit, you ask for you
buy her a drink.
Buy her a drink, but you're cool. But you give her space, right? And then you maybe go talk to another girl, a couple other girls, let her see, get the urgency going, scarcity. How am I talking about this? But anyways, do you know what? But it works, right?
So I've got a friend that does really well with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
He taught me everything that I know. Guy called Rick, and when I remember specifically the first call that I had with him. He's like, obviously there's different stages of the sell, right? So you've got like you're literally on the phone getting their card details.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's like asking a girl, do they want to come back with you, right? Obviously,
you're asking for that's closing.
Yeah,
you're asking for the close.
Yeah, that's the close, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you were to go to like 100 different girls, you're probably going to get slapped a lot of times if you literally just go in saying that.
That's right.
Whereas if you buy them a drink, take them out on a date, then potentially meet their parents, then
there's a process, a sales process, a system that you follow. We kind of know this naturally, right?
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people, they just try and close. You're going to get a lot of slaps before you actually end up getting a close.
They notice get a minger,
Yeah.
Who wants that,
So I think we've covered it all really. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So did I introduce myself? Give a little background about what I do briefly.
Yeah, go for it.
Or anyways, just so basically what we do is my agency, the Sales Formula. Essentially, we help people get their sales system set up. We help them get optimized. Work with a lot of agency owners, a lot of guys that sell marketing, rank and rent, things like this. So if you're having issues converting your leads, that's something we can help with. Essentially, everything from lead to client that pays you. What do you do? That whole sales process. We look for quick wins, long-term wins. How to get your sales conversion up from the same amount of leads is the idea. And so if you want to get in contact with me, it's info@thesalesformula.com, or you can follow the YouTube channel, Jacob Bushmaker. As it sounds, Bushmaker is pretty easy, right? And for sales content, if you want to learn how to smash your sales quotas, all good sales related content, optimize your systems. That's a good channel for that. So
I'll have everything linked down below. But thanks for joining me.
Thanks, man. Cool.